Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Warcast. That is the Utopia game Warcast with Wind, your host. We're on age 109. It is year 5. Now the war we were looking at originally was 211 versus 6-3. It was in progress while I was doing some of the research to figure out what is on there. However, since right before I was about to start the broadcast, 211 actually withdrew from the war, giving 6-3 the victory. But we're going to look a bit closer at it anyway, since I did the work and I got all the info ready to go here. So let's get into it. All right, as you can see, I've got KAGGES Patreon open here. It'd be awesome if everyone could take a moment just to take a look at it. I posted the link in the description of the video. He tries very hard to get the game working and make sure that things get updated, as well as fix problems that arise here and there. He's a great asset to the community, and thank you again, Kage. And a special thanks to everyone who has donated already. So you can see he does have some donations per month right now. So thank you to everybody who's donating to Kage's Patreon. Alright, and without further ado, let's take a quick look at the war in question. Alright, here we go. So the two kingdoms that we were looking at here was 6-3 and 2-11. You can do a little bit of a side-by-side comparison here, just to see what they were up to before the war ended. This is actually just before, when it was still ongoing. But as you can see, in terms of the rankings, 6-3 appears to be slightly higher, except for in the land rank. It's not necessarily a good thing. It means 211 is probably land fat, although they are a little bit higher in the net worth ranking as well. I think that has changed since I took this snapshot. But as you can see, they're both 21. They're both 21 each, and oops. Yeah, they're both 21 provinces, and it was an even war. Although it does look like 6-3 likes to go after slightly larger opponents, whereas 2-11 likes to go after slightly smaller opponents, as you can see by their average opponent relative size. But that's determined on the onset of war. So like they could have been, they could have done a land wave and brought 6-3 down a little bit below them, so it made it makes it look like they target weaker opponents, but they could have just had some strong land waves against 6-3 before during the hostile. Unfortunately, I don't have that kind of information on me right now, but we're just going to take a quick look in to see what happened or what's going on in this war, because as I said, 6-3 did actually defeat 2-11 just recently. So let's look at my favorite thing here. That's the old intel site. It's got all the information here. Let's take a quick look on land. If it'll load, there we go. As you can see, the war just concluded just recently, with addicts taking the win here. But as I was saying, land-wise, it looks like KOTRT was, focusing a little bit more heavily on land attacks as traditional marches, compared to addicts, and we'll go into that a little bit more into detail. I do have a little bit more back-end intel with regards to that. Again, net worth wise, you can see addicts has started out a little bit higher, but is slightly lower as they go down. However, with the victory, it brings them a little bit higher. But you can see there's some nice convergences here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 convergences before the victory. Honor wise, let's take a look at what was going on here. Addicts maintained a higher honor throughout the entire war and walked away with a nice chunk of honor. Another 5K, nice 5K victory honor. However, it didn't really propel them much further than where they started the war at. Initially their waves here, it was around here, I believe, the war started, May 1st on this site. So right off the bat, they were making some nice hits, doing a lot of ops, but it slowly seems like 211 was trying to turn the tables on them there. But obviously it didn't work out, because as I said, the war is currently over. If you check out the net worth damage here, you can see that 6-3, that's addicts, did a significant amount of damage to a variety of provinces here. All these smaller damages, changes here are most likely from ops, like Night Strike and fireballs and things like that. whereas the stuff up here, these are all land attacks or land-related exchanges of net worth here. There's probably some NSs and things like that on these top avians over here. Yeah, like these two guys up here, because that's usually and even this orc. I mean, they probably chained them a little bit lightly and then did a lot more NS on them to make them soft and weak. And judging by their net worth per acre, these guys are all land fat, so they're probably useless. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, every orc in this in the Addicts kingdom was able to NS you know, these top avians and this orc here, because again, they're very land fat. Let's take a quick look at some of the details I provided here, or I prepared here. It looks like 6.3 just took a dragon from a topaz dragon from 211 recently, just before 211 withdrew from the war. So I'm not sure if that's just a final end of war dragon to mess with their ceasefire, or just, you know, they thought that maybe it would make a difference. But unfortunately, a dragon isn't going to win you the war. 6.3 was running a havoc ritual, which kind of further backs up what I was talking before about the NS that was done to their top attackers, or bigger attackers rather. 60 ticks remaining, so that's got some, you know, it's almost down to a half-life. And again, you see they're sitting on the dragon there. 46 ticks remaining, and it was on Feb 9th that the topaz dragon from KOTRT began ravaging the lands. And again, just in case anyone doesn't remember, topaz dragon is minus 30 BE, minus 25% income, and of course destroys 4% of all buildings instantly and every 6 ticks thereafter. They probably thought that was going to turn the war. Primarily, 6.3 has an orc warrior core, whereas 211 has more of like an avian war hero. That's like kind of the most that they have. One thing I wanted to point out here is the differences between their builds, 6.3 and 211. You know, again, this is an orc and an avian we're comparing, but as you can see, you know, 211's definitely slacking on rebuilding, or they just don't have the economy to rebuild. I mean, like almost half, well, not half, but quite a bit of those acres are barren, because they're probably, you know, these are bigger attackers too. It's kind of just to see what the top end of the attackers are doing. But obviously, you know, they couldn't keep up with their buildings. Training grounds is important, military barracks is important, so they're really focusing on those multiple attacks. Lots of hospitals, so they got to keep up with the casualties as well. So that's kind of why they have that build in place there. Whereas the orc warrior looks like they primarily focus on training grounds, again hospitals. Looks like this guy's taking quite a beating though. A lot of buildings of his were destroyed, but as you can see, he's actually got stuff in construction, and looks like just at the withdrawal of war, all these buildings probably came in. So he's pretty much just rebuilding himself, and like building all of those captured acres that he's taken. So that just gives you some idea of, like, you know, the activity of their top attackers and what their attackers are doing for builds. We do have a slacker alert, Shining Powder in 211, that's the KOTRT Kingdom. Look how much science he's got unallocated. I mean, that's many turns of not logging in. I have a feeling this war was probably determined closer to min time. And a couple of the provinces on 211 probably stopped you know, being interested in this war, and that's probably explains, like, you know, why they weren't allocating their science, or at least this guy's not allocating his science. And then, you know, again, their economies probably speaks to the barren land here, as well as, you know, maybe this top attacker is kind of fed up and knows that he's ballooned up and there's not much he can do, so he doesn't want to waste the income on building the buildings, because they're just going to get taken away again. But I mean, to keep your province going, you really do need to keep those buildings built and cycled in. But this guy didn't even have a single acre under construction when I checked. Okay, so yeah, there's that. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I had on this thing here. We'll take a quick look at their breakdown here. 211 is kind of all over the place. I'm just going to take a look on my screen and make sure that this is all working good and everything. Yeah, it looks good. So 211 is quite a mixed breakdown. As I said, though, like primarily they're avian war heroes, but they've got a couple warrior and a couple tacticians. For TMs, it looks like they went Dark Elf, Mystic, Fairy, Mystic, and Heretic. And then they got their random one-offs like Dwarf Cleric, Gnome Artisan, and Human Cleric. They did go with a few orcs, but Definitely not enough orcs to go up against primarily Orc Kingdom, whereas you see on the flip side here, 6-3 has 2 Dark Elf Heretics, 5 Heretics. So again, further supporting that NS theory that I was talking about before, where a lot of the 211's attackers probably ate a ton of NS, especially at the top there, where we're seeing the low net worth per acres. And then they've got Gnome Heretics as well, which is pretty cool. I like to see how that's actually working out for them. So that's kind of where they are. I did have a lot of intel actually on these guys. So we're just going to take a quick look at everything that I got. This was just before the withdrawal again. Just based on the net worth of things here, I've got this marked to net worth right now. As you can see, only Shining Powder is really at the top there. And he's actually the slacker of the science. So it's, he's one of their highest honor fairy mystics. So I'm surprised, that he hasn't allocated his science. His population's struggling as well too, and with with that TPA, if you take a look at these heretics that he's up against, they probably are getting NSs in on him, because their TPA is just higher. I mean, even if this guy has watchtowers, I doubt he's able to really fully stop them from hurting him, and they are in net worth range as well, good net worth range. But the other thing I wanted to point out, on the net worth side of things is, we've got some disparities here in, the net worth brackets. So for every 4 provinces, 2 to 4 provinces, 6-3 has, 211 only has 1. So this is the top bracket here, right? Kind of in the 300k range. Well, I mean, this guy kind of counts too, but he's still fallen below the 300k, and he's more into this bracket here where it's 4 to 2 to 4. So let's say it's about 2 to 4 provinces for 211 to 6-3 in terms of the net worth brackets, until you get to the bottom here, which is the lower net worth provinces, which were probably beat up during the war, most likely beat up during the war. If we take a quick look at the offense remaining on both sides from the intel that I took, you can see that 6-3 has a significantly more offense, if not double in some cases. So we can see a good reason for withdrawal here. Defense-wise, again, 6-3 is maintaining unbreakables at the top here. There's not too much 211 can do, especially if they don't have the NS game under their belt, and there's way too many heretics on 6-3 side to make a change there. This Fairy Mystic, doesn't really stand a chance. Shining Powder, I would imagine, probably got fed up and doesn't want to play the war anymore. Because, I mean, look, this Orc, Pork Belly, Moose Empire, Rice, Whisper Creek Estates, they can all break him. So, what is he actually supposed to do there? And as you can see, these heretics here, they're basically untouchable. I think you guys all kind of know where this was going, and this was more or less my initial thoughts when I first looked at this. 6-3, not only do they have the TM advantage, they've got an offense advantage, a defense advantage, they got unbreakables, they weren't swollen with land, they have higher TPA on their TMs, WPA is lacking a little bit on the 6-3 side of things. So it's a tough battle, because one of the reasons that 211 was lacking power on the TM side was due to the number of massacres. If you look at the Seraphim here from the news that I captured from January 1st, year 5 to Feb 10th, year 5, over 34 hours, you can see that 6-3 actually made 3 times more massacres. Not 3 times in actual unique counts, but they did about 3 times more damage worth of massacres to 211. So I mean, that's not good either. And as you can see here, 211 did more traditional marches, but it looks like due to the high offense of 6-3, they were actually still able to get a good number of traditional marches in alongside the massacres. And these massacres were very well placed. They did quite a bit of damage. You can kind of just look down here as to see, exactly what happened. You see 211 banking acres. They're really, really taking on acres fast, whereas 6-3 is kind of just letting the acres slide. I mean, this is all spread out, of course, across all the provinces. But it's interesting that there's so many unknown attacks on 6-3. It is kind of strange. think. Or sorry, there's so many unknown attacks. Like I guess they were trying to avoid ambushes, something like that from the avians. I suppose that was probably what they were trying to do. All right, and just a quick look at the different active effects of War Hero and Warrior. Just give you an idea. War Hero is just like giving you double honor for 12 ticks, whereas the Warrior gives you an additional 5% ME, but it's only for 6 ticks. But that's pretty intense. That's why those Warriors have such high offense and they're able to break everything. They're geared to breaking TMs basically. Obviously this isn't the only reason that the Warriors have a high offense, but 5% is pretty significant. That's a lot. Other than that, it does look like there wasn't too much heavy chaining going on. Very light chaining, although these numbers are a little bit muddled up now that they've actually taken the victory acres. So I mean, in terms of chaining, it doesn't look like anyone was really crushed too much, because as you can see, the lowest land-wise here is this Papas Fritas. Yeah, so my original outcome for this one was going to be, that addicts definitely had this war in the bag, especially after looking at the offense and defensive numbers. But it's too bad I wasn't able to put the warcast out before the war actually ended. But definitely stay tuned for more warcasts. We're trying to go for a little bit shorter warcasts as well too, with a little bit more info. But be sure to stay tuned for the next one, and congratulations, Addicts, for winning your war. I believe that puts you at 4 wars now. I mean, I did have the list here on my little notepad. Yeah, so that's 4 wins for Addicts, 4 out of 4, and that's 1 more loss for KOTRT. Awesome. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Unfortunately, as I said, the war did end a little bit early, so we weren't actually able to look at everything, without knowing that the war was over already. But like I said, stay tuned, and we'll definitely be doing some more warcasts in the near future, hopefully with as much info as possible, and shorter too. Again, remember to donate to KAGGES Patreon, and make sure that Utopia development continues. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, and be sure to check out the next warcast. Keep those wars